The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates.
It does not necessarily reflect the views of WDEL or Forever Media.
The Rick Jensen Show on 101.7 FM, 1150 AM, WDEL, and streaming to your smart speaker and mobile device.
So every Wednesday after the news at 1:30, you get some great advice from one of the pros who specialize in retirement incoming, financial planners at Daniel White and Associates. Dan Simon's on the phone right now. He operates out of the Middletown office and always has good advice for you. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Rick. How are you this afternoon?
Peachy, hoping we have a Phillies game tomorrow. We'll see.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to the season starting.
Yeah. So yeah, I saw you sent a message. Said, listen, we do need to be talking about college plans, 529 plans, and the Roth IRA rollover and such like that. Also, taxability at the state level. So we are trying to plan for our kids' college even in these challenging times. And we want to know what's the best way to do it. So what do you have for us?
Yeah, so with the Secure Act 2.0, there was a provision that allowed 529 plans to be rolled over to Roth IRAs, which is a pretty big deal. Adds a lot of flexibility as to what kids can do with that money, which is a great thing. There are a few requirements, as always, that need to be met. I just want to run through a few of them, and then we'll talk about the state taxability. But there's a maximum lifetime amount that can be rolled over from a 529 plan into a Roth. It's $35,000 in total. And the 529 plan must have been open for at least 15 years. So we're going back a ways here.
Yeah. And can I interrupt for a second?
Please.
Because I'm thinking $35,000. Okay. That's almost a year at University of Delaware if you're out of state.
It's barely a semester at some schools these days.
It's terrible. I know. So how is this helpful?
Every little bit counts. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, fair enough.
So, you got to take what they give us, right? The rollover amount can't exceed the annual Roth IRA contribution limit. So you can't do more than, X amount of dollars, $7,000 in a year. And it also has to be aggregated with other regular IRA or Roth IRA contributions made that year. So it's almost kind of, you're either doing one or the other because the number is, kind of on the smaller side for a year. But if all those rules are met, if you satisfy them all, the rollover is considered tax-free for federal tax purposes. So again, you got to check off a few boxes to make sure that you get that federal tax break on the rollover from a 529 to a Roth IRA. However, it's not necessarily the case for state tax purposes. States are kind of all over the map right now as to their treatment for these rollovers from 529s to Roth. And it's not an issue for the 9 states that have no state income tax to begin with. It's, Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Texas, Tennessee, Washington, Wyoming. So those ones, there's no issues. There's 21 states that have basically adopted the federal law and said they'll follow it. In our areas, the ones that apply to that are Delaware, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. So really no issue there. New Jersey's still undecided. There's litigation going on in the state of New Jersey as to what direction they're going to go, as to whether it's going to be considered state taxable at the state level or not. The ones that are requiring you to take a state deduction, or that requires you, to pay the state taxes is, and it's called a recapture, because when they put money in to the 529 plan, many states will allow you to take a state tax deduction on what you put in. So you put $5,000 in for your kid's education inside the 529 plan, will reduce the taxable income at the state of that amount. Those that are requiring the recapture, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, New York, Utah, and Vermont. And the one that stands alone there is California. If somebody does do a 529 to IRA rollover, not only is it subject to state income tax, but there's an additional 2.5% California tax on the earnings as well. So California is not the state you want to be doing that kind of stuff in.
Yeah, I know. And I often complain that we have too many lawmakers here who look at California and think those are good ideas. We don't want to be California. So I got a question for you.
Sure.
And I just looked this up because I'm actively listening to what you're saying. And here at, let's see, Delaware Today magazine was reporting, I'm sure WDEL has it too. In 2022, the General Assembly passed legislation to establish a $1,000 tax deduction for contributions made to 529 plans. And it looks like there's even a potential $5,000 tax deduction at some level, which I didn't get to read that far. So, that's contributions made to the 529A. That's for people who have disabilities. So, Delaware's not going to try to claw that back?
Delaware's not one that's going to try to claw that back from what I'm reading. No.
Nice. Don't tell them.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, don't tell them that some are. Right.
Yeah.
Terrible.
They'll all figure it out at some point. But no, Delaware's not on that list of 10 at this point.
Well, okay, so if that's your intent, and maybe there's been a change to whether or not the kid you're saving the money for is going to go to college or whatever, that might be a good idea to make that move?
Yeah, I mean, again, the account's got to be established for 15 years. So, we're talking about kids that are approaching college at this point, and then forward-looking. I would encourage people to set these up for their children as early as possible. Establish the account. Doesn't need to be funded every year, but if the account's established, you got some money in it, then it opens up that period of time. And it might be a case, Rick, where your child doesn't go to higher education, go to college. But it could also be a case where your child gets a scholarship. Look at the bright side of things. You get a scholarship, and you don't have those expenses. Then all of a sudden, you've got that money in the 529 plan, and you've got the ability to convert that over, a period of time. Maybe even when the child's in school, when their taxes are on the lower side, they're not necessarily contributing to an IRA because they may not have earned income if they're actively engaged in their studies. It gives them a little bit more flexibility than what we had. So in total, it's a good thing. You just got to make sure that you're aware of what you can and can't do and what the requirements are to be able to take advantage of moving the money from a 529 to a Roth. Because again, once it's in the Roth, it's tax-free forever, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and there's some things you cannot use it. I think you cannot use it for off-campus housing or things like that. I know some people who've gone through this, and they're going through all the little deductions like textbooks, yes, books that they want to read, no, and all these other little things. Is there a plan that's more flexible and gives you tax benefits like the 529?
There's a lot of different ways you can go about funding it. College savings. You can do it through an UGMA or an UTMA account. That gives you probably the most flexibility.
What account?
An UGMA, Uniform Gift to Minors.
Okay, yeah.
Transfer to minors. You could do that, and it's considered non-qualified money, but you've got the flexibility then. I've seen cases, studies where people will use permanent life insurance to fund college, where you build cash value inside of those policies. You also have the death benefit in the event that the parent were to pass. It provides a tax-free death benefit to the kids. You could do it through some type of Roth IRA on your own, so that you've got access to the funds tax-free. But I look at it, it's kind of a piece. I mean, if you can't do it all with a 529 plan, but you can take advantage of some of the benefits of, a state tax deduction now and the tax deferred or free growth until education time. And if they don't use it, then you can certainly convert it over to a Roth if you meet the criteria. Like most things, I mean, even with retirement planning, it's probably a piece of the pie to get to the final solution.
And even if it's not a four-year college, vocational, trade schools, things like that, they're qualified for a 529 money, right?
They are, correct.
Yeah. No. Well, good to know. I'm glad you guys know this stuff because we have questions, and I know that you guys got good answers over at Dan White & Associates. Anything else, Dan Simon?
Go Phillies.
Yeah. Sunday morning at 7 o'clock, Dan White hosts On the Money here on 1150 AM, 1017 FM, WDEL, streaming live at WDEL.com. And if it rains, we have a doubleheader on Friday. I actually don't know how that's going to work. All I know is we listen.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
That'd be exciting. I don't know if we've ever seen a doubleheader on opening day. I can't imagine they do it, but
no.
It'd be cool.
Well, what would be is historic. Let's just pray it doesn't rain so much And we got the game going on tomorrow on WDEL. All right, take care, my friend.
We'll be tuning in. Thanks, Rick. Take care. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.